you ready to take your leadership journey to the next level? On the leadership platform TLP, we don't just talk about leadership, we live it. This year, we are bringing you cutting-edge insights, transformative tools, and real-world strategies to help you lead with confidence, purpose, and impact. This year, we have 4 seasons with 50 episodes. We will dive into themes such as leading self, leading others, and leading institutions. We bring you Leaders Are Readers. This monthly session focuses on book reviews, discussions, encouraging all participants to read along with selected books on personal leadership and professional leadership. We also have a time with the CEO. In this segment, we dive into the stories of prominent CEOs who share their insights, lessons learned throughout their leadership journey. We also bring you extraordinary leadership stories, highlighting individuals in our societies who are doing extraordinary things. This segment inspires viewers with real-life examples of leadership in action. We will bring you some brilliant minds, courageous leaders changing the narrative of Africa. We also bring you finally the expert-led sessions, which cover a wide range of leadership and personal development topics, providing practical guidance and actionable strategies for personal and professional development. The leadership platform is your go-to space for personal growth, professional breakthroughs, and meaningful connections. I am Bonsu Schmutz, co-host on TLP, and I will see you every Saturday, 7 p.m. GMT, live on YouTube and Facebook.
Hello. Good evening and welcome to the Leadership Platform. My name is Samuel Ayim of CTL Africa Leadership. The team is around and we are happy to come your way this evening. As always, Saturdays are our best times of the week when we get the opportunity to gather around the table to learn and to grow, to be better leaders in different respects. So welcome. We encourage you at this moment to invite your friends, your colleagues, and your family members to join the leadership platform because, as always, we have something good in store for you. And this evening, we are going to have one of our sessions on Leaders Are Readers. So get ready. And if you have read the book we have shared, please just join the discussion. But in the meantime, we encourage you to introduce yourself, tell us where you are joining from, and your name, and we would be happy to introduce you to the whole wide world. Great. So go ahead and let's know where you are. We know that many of you who join prefer not to introduce yourself, but it is our honor to introduce you. So please don't hide behind the screens. You can join us on Facebook, on YouTube, and LinkedIn. Please like our pages, subscribe to our channels so that you don't miss out on the leadership platform. This evening, as I've said, we are going to do a sneak view of one book that is so powerful in so many lessons. And this is going to be done by one of our own the freshest coach in town, certified ICF member, and John Maxwell coach. And she's going to do us the honor. She will come on stage very, very, very soon. But let me just share the quote that we shared with you in our communication from the author of the book that we are going to review, The Diary of the CEO, written by Stephen Bartlett, and uh, our speaker is going to throw a bit more light, and Sarah and I will come and join her and help all of us to pick a few more lessons from the book. One of the quotes that I love from the book is, "Those who hoard gold have riches for a moment. Those who hoard knowledge and skills have riches for a lifetime. True prosperity," he says, "is what you know and what you do," by Stephen Bartlett. Sorry. Now, that is why we do this particular session, because during this session, we're going to share knowledge, the things we are learning with you. And at this point, just a second, let me take some water. Okay, at this point, I'm going to bring our speaker on stage so that she can start to take us through the book. Sorry. I'm sorry. All right. So, the one who is going to lead us through this book, as I've said, is the latest coach in town, ICF member, and who have also joined the ICF board, an engineer who has transformed into people development, and she brings that engineering skills into the way she does her coaching, into the way she does her leadership development and her training. Very, very competent in so many ways, resourceful in so many ways. She is a member of the CTL Africa team and of the John Maxwell Leadership Certified Leadership Coaches, and a member of the ICF, and also the co-host. She runs a very beautiful ladies platform to encourage women who have, taken a break and want to come back to corporate. And these are powerful, powerful platforms that Joy Bonsu Schmutz is going to lead us. And I invite Joy, my good friend, my partner in crime. Yay, Joy, that's beautiful. And I love your colors. I told you before. Green is life. So good. Joy, we know that Kwame is behind the background. Kwame is helping you, giving you energy to giving you energy and taking some away. But we know that you've done a lot of good work on this book. So tell us, what should we expect in this short session from on Leaders Are Readers?
Yeah. So thank you so much, Uncle Sam. I was just smiling like my cheeks were already hurting. The way you introduced me, thank you. And I can always say that thank God for giving us shoulders to stand on. Because if I had to do this journey the way you did it would have taken me 60 years. But then, by God's grace, it has taken me half the time. So I want to say thank you to you and Sarah and the team for all the support. And today, I believe that in short, what I would say is the Diary of a CEO is going to challenge your status quo. It's not a business strategy book, but it's just going to challenge your mindset around how do I lead differently in an authentic, vulnerable way. And every time CTL, we talk about continuous learning, and we're going to see some of those elements being challenged in this review. So stick and stay.
Wonderful, wonderful. Guys, if you haven't seen the book, this is the book, The Diary of the CEO, of a CEO. And it has 33 laws of business and life. You can get a hard copy like some of us old people, or you, the younger ones, you can get the ebooks or even the audio to get you right. You see, at CTL, we go for the real thing. We go for the real thing. The diary of a CEO, and this is a catalog of lessons that is going to challenge us, as Joy has said. But like they say in Ghana, I'm not going to drink the fufu, the soup before the fufu is finished. So I am going to leave the stage for a moment for Joy to take us through introduce us to the author of this book, Stephen Bartlett, one of our own, and walk us through the structure of the book and some of the key lessons. Guys, our objective is to whet your appetite so that you can go get this book, because I tell you, I was glued to the book. And Sarah tells me that, she read through the book in just under a day or two. It's also us from the village. We don't do it like that. We do it piece, 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 piece. So thank you, Joy. Take over the stage and take us away. God bless
Thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, good evening again to all our audience from around the world. We're excited to have you. I can see a few people commenting. Please keep them coming. Your comments really energizes us. I see Portia from Ghana, Canada Medical Center. It's always a pleasure to have you. And then our I'd say very loyal guest for TLP, Cynthia Martison. We appreciate your presence. Awufia Joe, Albert Donko. Thank you all so much for joining us. And I can tell you that it's going to be an amazing evening as we digest the book, The Diary of a CEO. And so just stick and stay. And please, if you haven't shared the link with your network, please do so now so somebody can find this and be blessed. Amen. All right. So we're talking about this book, but I'm very curious what our readers or our audience and our leaders around this table are reading. And so if you can put it in the comment section, what are you reading? This is Leaders Are Readers, our episode that always brings a book review on so that we can be challenged. But what are you reading currently? It will be good to see the list of topics that could probably fit into some of our subsequent reviews. So put in the comments what you are currently reading, and we'll be happy to just give it a highlight. So as we begin this session, what I found interesting about the book is that even though it says a diary of a CEO, it is not about how to become a CEO. And Stephen makes it very clear, if you read the back of the book, that this is not a business strategy book. So if you think this is something that will help you with a mini MBA degree, I'm sorry, this is not, because strategies change. As a leader, we all know we start the year, middle of the year, we are talking about strategies, they change. So it's not about strategy, but it's about timeless lessons from a human behavior point of view. And I can tell you that this is one of the things that endears a lot of people to listen to Stephen Bartlett, which is the human touch, the vulnerability that he brings to his writing and to his podcast. Okay, so we're going to just go through these. This is the overview. I'll talk a little bit about the author. I have a quick video for you as well. Then we'll go through the book, just a summary of it, the publication. And then the book is organized into 4 main pillars with 33 laws. If we want to actually do 33 laws today, we will not leave here today. So we'll actually take it in pillar by pillar. And then once we are done, we'll just look at how to apply some of the lessons and our takeaways from this book. And then we'll go through some closing reflections. Okay, so stick and stay. And so here's a quick video about our author, and just take a look.
Influential media brands. Meet Stephen Bartlett, entrepreneur, investor, and creator of The Diary of a CEO. Stephen was born in Botswana, raised in Plymouth, and grew up as the only black family in a mostly white, middle-class neighborhood. His family struggled financially, and by 18, he had dropped out of university after just one lecture. School just wasn't for him. After which, obsessed with business, Stephen launched Walpart, a student social network. The venture never took off, but it taught him about web traffic and the rising power of social media. In 2014, Stephen co-founded Social Chain in Manchester. The company specialized in turning social media communities into powerful marketing engines for brands. At a time when businesses didn't yet understand the attention economy, Social Chain knew how to capitalize on it. The model worked. Within 6 years, the company grew to hundreds of employees, opened offices across Europe and the US, generated more than £200 million in revenue, and went public in Germany. By 2020, after a wave of acquisitions, Stephen felt he no longer had control. Just before another uplisting, he resigned. What came next began as a side project, The Diary of a CEO. Launched in 2017 from his bedroom, it started with Stephen recording late-night monologues. After leaving Social Chain, he went all in, hiring a team, building a London studio, and investing heavily in production. The podcast stood out for its raw honesty. Stephen didn't just talk about business. He explored insecurities, failures, relationships, and mental health. Guests ranged from entrepreneurs to celebrities and professionals, each sharing their innermost thoughts and experiences. Behind the scenes, the show runs like a tech company. Stephen's team runs thousands of A/B tests on titles, thumbnails, even camera angles to maximize reach. Today, Diary of a CEO has crossed 1 billion streams, making it one of the most popular podcasts in the world. It's distributed across multiple platforms and has spun off into live shows and best-selling books. Stephen didn't stop there. He founded Flight Story, a media and investment company that helps scale brands in the new attention economy, and Flight Fund, backing next-generation startups. In 2021, he also became the youngest ever dragon on BBC's Dragon's Den. From broke dropout to the face of a global media empire, this is the story of Stephen Bartlett and the Diary.
Okay. All right, so that was a summary of who our author is, Stephen Bartlett. And I think one of the things that captures a lot of people's attention when they hear the backstory is dropouts became overnight success. And that if you go through the book and some of the lessons and the experiences he had, you realize that it's not an overnight success. It's not a dropout and then school was not important, but the essence is about learning. And I think as CTL, one of the things that we have mentioned time and time again is that it's all about continuous learning. And he shows us that school and degree is not always the beginning. It's about what you are learning. He didn't find that's as very instrumental. So he learns through the work that he did. And that's also very interesting to learn from Stephen. So he's an entrepreneur, and we can see that in the video. He's started a number of organizations and companies, and some of the notable ones is the flight story, the flight fund, and then also the Social Chain that blew up when he started. And also his podcast has become almost number one in the world, listened by people all over the world. So that has also really made him very famous, the Diary of a CEO podcast. And also he's also known for his non-traditional way of learning. You get to see that when you read the book, but he emphasizes a lot on curiosity, self-education, learning agility, instead over formal schooling and leadership development. And Uncle Sam and Sarah, I saw a video just before the meeting, our former Minister of Education talking about how the Ghanaian curriculum doesn't really do much for you. And I was just asking myself, so what was happening all the time that he was minister? That statement alone, it's worrying. It's a worrying statement that he knows that the Ghanaian curriculum doesn't do much for an individual. Just to say, so self-education, learning agility, I think that's what makes Stephen stands out. And then also the human-centeredness, authenticity, and growth. Next, to go to the next slide. So the book was published in 2023. It has 33 laws, as Uncle Sam shared, and then it's divided into 4 pillars. And then it focuses on timeless leadership principles. What I loved about the book, because I'm a very graphical person, I can't read a book that is just all text and black and white. I like the handwritten style of the fonts. I also like some of the artistic, the images and then the drawings that you have in the book. For some of us who are very visual learners, this helps us tons. So that's what he also brings, and that's one of the things we like about the book. And it also has a lot of relevance to personal and professional life. So it's not just something you can apply at work, but you can also apply it for your personal life. And so we'll go just a summary of what the 4 pillars are about, which starts with the self. The first pillar is self. And I like one quote he shared. Leonardo da Vinci said, "One can have no smaller or greater mastery than mastery over oneself." And if you can't do this, you can't lead anybody. And CTL, it really aligns with our principles, or our 5 pillars, where it always starts with leading self. So that's what the first pillar is about. And then we have the second pillar, which is the story. The story, which says that everything that stands in your way is human. Science, psychology, and history have shown that there's no graph or data or information that stands greater chance of positively influencing those humans than a truly great story. So all of us have great stories, and to be able to influence people, great storytelling is the key. That's the pillar of the pillar number 2. And so for leaders who are trying to influence, people buy into your story, people buy into what you have been through, and then they begin to follow you. That's why when you look at social media, everybody's putting something into a story form. You watch, and you can remember even a movie you watched 20 years ago, because that's the power of storytelling. And then pillar number 3 is about the philosophy. I believe that every person, even if they haven't outlined it in black and white, has a philosophy that they live by. It says this pillar is about the personal and professional philosophy that great people believe and live by, and how those philosophies result in behavior that leads to greatness. There are some people who believe in people. They just believe in people, and that is their philosophy for life. There are some people who believe that leadership is about position. So unless they have the title, that's their philosophy. That's the lens with which they lead, or they look at life. So that's pillar number 3, the philosophy, your guiding beliefs and principles. And then the very final one, which is also aligned with our CTL pillars, which is leading institutions and then leading teams. So he talks about teamwork, very, very important about teamwork. And then what he says on the last pillar is that the team pillar focuses on culture, it focuses on trust, it focuses on hiring. Sometimes I see, and he doesn't just write this, he has lived this. You see on his Instagram, on his LinkedIn, posting that he's looking for a great person who has a great attitude. Just put your name there and then respond to a particular email, and that's it. He's very big on hiring the right talent, and all these things are the dynamics that shape organizational effectiveness. So those are the pillars that govern the book, and so each of them we're going to go into what the laws are very briefly, and then we can just zooming in a little bit. So there are 9 laws under the first pillar, which says 1, fill your 5 buckets in the right order. Law 2, to master it, you must create an obligation to teach it. Law 3, you must never disagree. Law number 4, you do not get to choose what you believe. Law number 5, you must lean into bizarre behavior. Law number 6, ask, don't tell. That's a coaching, like coaching. There you go. Ask, don't tell. The question behavior effect. That was a very powerful one. Law number 7, never compromise your self story, what you tell yourself. Law number 8, never fight a bad habit. Law number 9, always prioritize your first foundation. So we're just going to do a summary of what the essence of all these laws bring out. So if you look at all the 9 laws, the essence, there are just four of them that I'm noting. That number 1, identity shapes outcomes. Identity shapes outcomes. Success results from repeated habits shaped by identity. If you cannot identify who you are, what your personality is, who you are, or how you show up in the workplace, I mean, you cannot make any significant contribution. And if you look at people who don't have a great self-esteem, people who feel timid to even express themselves, it also shows up in the outcomes of their life. And if you listen to Stephen, some of his podcasts, he talks about how when he was young, with the kind of home that he was raised in, always seeing his father not treating his mother right, he always had low self-esteem. So some of these things, if it's not corrected, will shape the outcomes of your life. So maybe for a moment you think about what outcomes am I having now? Can I trace it back to how I see myself? Because that is the lens with which you live. Then the second point is discipline over motivation. We can't overestimate. This is something that is running through a lot of books that I'm reading now. Discipline and consistency. Motivation talks about having like one moment of energy and then you do something out of the ordinary and everybody applauds you. It's sort of an event, one-off thing. But discipline is about consistency and growth. It's something you do repeatedly. And so this is what stands out in these laws, that it's better to have discipline over motivation for a long-lasting effect. One of the ways that I define discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want. So if your goal or your dream is to have a life where you have financial independence, that's what you want the most, right? But I don't want to use pizza because I like pizza, but you want to buy something now for instant gratification. And you know that you haven't reached your saving limit. So you want the pizza, but what you want the most is a life of financial independence. So you choose. That is discipline. Okay, then energy management importance. It talks about leaders must protect their physical and mental energy. The resources that we have as leaders, we have time. For time, you can't get time back. But for energy, you can replenish your energy, and you need energy to drive your goals. It's like there's a car with no fuel. And so as leaders, this is a very important part of your personal mastery. How do you manage your energy? And Uncle Sam's question to Sarah all the time, how is the energy? But as leaders, we need to be able to measure how our energy gauge, or to look at what our energy gauge looks like and find ways to build our physical and mental energy. And then number 5, it talks about self-mastery for leadership. Self-mastery, being able to master yourself. Personal development is a strategic investment. And for you, follow us on CTL, you know that this has been our mantra all these years. If you can develop yourself as an individual, you are positioning yourself strategically for a future. So being honest and reflecting on where you are versus where you want to be. So if you're investing in yourself, you're taking the courses you need to take, you're doing the work, you are reading your books, you're going for the seminars, you're building your mental capacity, then you are investing in yourself. And that is the greatest investment that yields the biggest returns. So out of the 9 laws, I'm picking 2 of them that stood out for me personally. The very first one is the 5 buckets of value. The 5 buckets of value framework. And in the book, Stephen uses 5 buckets. He names one knowledge, he names the second one skill, network, resources, and reputation. 5 buckets. And what he says about that, and what he says about the buckets is, just quickly, let me zoom this in a little bit. Okay, he explains how personal value is built over time. So first of all, you gain the knowledge, and then when you apply the knowledge, it becomes skill. And then when you have skill, you're working in, you're hired by a company, you start your own thing, you begin to build a network around you. And when you build that network around you, you start having access to resources, whether it's social capital, whether it's the salary that you are paid. You build that network that gives you those resources. And over time, you begin to build a reputation. That is the 5 buckets of value. That is the chain. So what he says is, what the law actually says is that it has to be in that order. He says, fill the 5 buckets in order. Fill the 5 buckets. So it has to start with knowledge, and then building the skill, and then building. So he says, what you know, what you can do, who you know, what you have, and what the world thinks of you. That's your reputation. That's the last bucket. And for me, I always use the example of very famous artisans, the artisans who, plumber, masons. We have the ones that now are going to professional schools that are learning the trade and the craft. And so when they come to your house to fix a problem, they know what they are doing. But they are the ones that were just sent to, please, master, they've given you a master, just go and see, look at what the master is doing and replicate it. That had been the trend with this artisanal skilling. So they can see that the master is laying the block. He put the block on it, he puts the he puts the concrete or the mortar there and puts the block on it. Don't judge. Puts the mortar and puts the block. And you see that they see what he's doing, so they just replicate it. But as to whether it is straight, as to whether the particular place they are laying the block, there needs to be more cement than sand, and I say this because my mom is always criticizing the artisans because their level of understanding, because most of them jump the knowledge bucket, they start from the skill. They're just learning in Sanwejuma to apply. They don't really understand or have the knowledge about why it's being done, what is being done, what is the accuracy, what is the quality. They jump to skill. And you always see that it tells in the outcomes that it's just, getting the work done without the knowledge or the application of the knowledge itself. And so he also shares a story about a 21-year-old in his company who was a junior, who was doing well in his space, who had gotten an offer in New York, like capital New York, to become the CEO of a very big company. And he was happy for the guy, like, okay, but then he was just wondering, I know you, I know what you're capable of, Long story short, the guy took the role and eventually the company collapsed and, he was now back on the street looking for a job. So that should tell you that if you can skip knowledge, skill, and then go for resources, a higher paying job. But if you don't have the skill and the knowledge to back it, then it falls through the cracks. So that was the piece that was so valuable for me from this law, that we should fill our buckets and we don't stop. Continuous learning, which is number 2. learning over credential, and it's a very powerful piece inside the book. That's where Uncle Sam took the quotation for. It says, master it. To master it, you must create an obligation to teach it. So there's a series of things about learning. Okay, so I'm just going to go over this one. The value of continuous learning. Adaptability, continuous learning and adaptability are more important than formal credentials. And we've seen that over and over again. Never delegate understanding. Leaders must develop personal comprehension and avoid outsourcing their understanding to others. When it comes to delegation, you can delegate tasks and other things, but you can't delegate the understanding, because you have to understand it yourself. It's like Uncle Sam saying that, okay, team, I don't understand coaching. I'm running a business, but I don't understand the core bits of the work that I'm doing. So 1, 2, or 3, you can't delegate that part of it, because he needs to understand the core of what he's doing in order to even put the right people at the right task. So as a leader, the understanding of your space is paramount. That's why it says you cannot delegate understanding. Then learning agility as a strategic asset. It enables you as a leader to navigate volatile environments. What you knew. So Uncle Sam, I'm putting this example on because when we read Rich Dad Poor Dad, in the book, this was a book written years ago, very, very useful book, which said that things like cars are not assets, they are liabilities, because they start losing value, they start wearing out by the moment you drive it out of the shop, right? But in Ghana, when the exchange rate changed or flipped, I think it went up at some point. And so when cars were being brought into Ghana, the prices were going up. And so it made cars that were already on the market have a higher price. So I sold my old car recently, and I sold it for much higher than I bought the car 6 years ago. So in as much as we learned that a car is not an asset, and I'm not disproving that, but I'm trying to say that if you're not learning continuously, you're not being agile about your learning, you may be using principles that are outdated to run your business. And so over and over again is emphasized. That's why this platform is there. Every week you have something new to think about. You have something new to reflect on. And so learning agility enables leaders to navigate volatile environments. So if you're in Ghana, you can say a car is an asset, in quotes. That's my point, because I got more money from using a car that has been driven for 6 years, just because of the way the nature of our market operated. And so continuous learning is important. Jump, I think I need to watch the time. Pillar number 2, the story. And here are the laws under that. Is said, unless useless absurdity will define you more than useful practicalities. And you should read that law. Avoid wallpaper at all costs. You must piss people off. Shoot your psychological moonshots first. Friction can create value. The frame matters more than the picture. This is another powerful one. And then use Goldilocks to your advantage. Let them try, and they will buy. Fight for the first 5 seconds. So these are the laws under pillar number 2. And so generally the pillar number 2 about story talks about beliefs and perceptions. And it says perception shapes reality. One of them is the placebo effect. And placebo effect, there was an experiment done. I'm thinking of either using the original experiment that was done or another one that I just read recently that talked about, okay, let me use the original one. So a group of, they were not well, and so they were giving medicine, but it was just candies. They were not told it was candies, but they were given medicine. So they believed what they had taken was medicine. And so they started to respond positively to the candies, thinking it was medicine. And so the placebo effect talks about what you believe about something begins to influence your course of action. The power of belief. It says belief can cause real improvement. So if you can believe that something can be done, it can actually change the way that thing happens, you know. And then it talks about the leadership influence. A leader's belief in their team can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, enhancing team performance. There's also an example of three teachers that were chosen from a district, and they were told that across the district they are the top three, and so they are going to be given 9 students who have the top IQs. They have the best IQs in the district, so they are supposed to teach them over a period of time, and then they'll take the assessments and all of that. And the teachers were so excited. Oh, I'm the best in the district. And then they went through the process. It was very energizing, vibrant. At the end of the day, all the 9 candidates, all the 9 students improved drastically in their performance. And now the truth came out and said, okay, by the way, you were randomly picked from a pile of of teachers in the district. Randomly, we don't even know where you place. And then the students that were also given you were also not they didn't have the highest IQs. As a matter of fact, they had the lowest IQs in their class. So every time you believe something, it has a way of changing your reaction, your energy, the decisions you begin to make. So if a person believes in their team, it's like, I believe in my team so much. All of a sudden, people start to do wonders. The power of belief. So in the other way, if you don't believe in your team, even you can have the most talented group of people and they will not perform. So that's the placebo effect, one of the key stories from the pillar number 2. And then reframing failure, that's also a second powerful one, which a lot of coaches use. The word reframing, the frame is more important than the picture. So it says reframing failure narratives. So shifting from I fail to I learn. John Maxwell says sometimes you succeed and sometimes you learn. Instead of saying sometimes you succeed, sometimes you fail, it says sometimes you fail, sometimes you learn. Okay, and then these changes influence your future behavior. Instead of saying I failed at this, you say I learned something new. The impact it has on leaders and leadership and teams. Leaders who frame failure as feedback foster innovation without blame. The culture, and it leads them to risk aversion and stagnation. We see this almost all the time. If you want your team to be more innovative, you have to reframe failure. They have to know that when they make a mistake, it is an opportunity to learn. And then creating a learning culture, a learning organization, an organization that's willing to learn, fail, relearn, and keep going. That is one of the key stories out of the number 2, the pillar number 2. Let me see if I have a third one. Okay, I'm rushing through it. Pillar number 3 talks about the philosophy, and the laws say, let me take a look at my chat just in case. Yes, and as I'm going through, please, if you've read it, I can see a few comments coming through, so just keep them coming. We'll wrap this up and then we can take some questions. So you must sweat the small stuff. Usually we say don't sweat the small stuff, but then if you don't, some things will fall through the cracks. So you must sweat the small stuff. A small miss now creates a big miss later. You must outfail the competition. You must outfail the competition. You must become a plan A thinker. These laws are challenging a lot of, popular beliefs or sayings that we always say. Plan B up to plan Z, but say you must become a plan A thinker. Don't be an ostrich. You must make pressure your privilege. the power of the power of negative manifestation. Law 26, your skills are worthless, but your context is valuable. Timeless. Law 27, the discipline equation, death, time, and discipline. Like Uncle Sam said, he was glued to the book. A lot of timeless lessons in there, and you have to read it for yourself. So for the philosophy part, here are three things that captures all the laws. Long-term thinking. It says success depends on prioritizing long-term goals over short-term goals to avoid impatience and burnout. And then willingness to be misunderstood. Sometimes we want to have it all our ducks in the row, but he said effective leaders accept criticism and misunderstanding as part of pioneering change and innovation. This is an area that I personally have to keep reflecting and working on, because you always want to come out well and perfect and no faults, but then you should be willing to be misunderstood. Curiosity and adaptability. Leaders stay humble, question assumptions, and remain open to new information and change. They said curiosity kills the cat, but honestly, the benefits of being curious as a leader, you're looking at what AI is doing, what data is doing, can help you have an edge in your leadership. So two key stories under this one will be delayed gratification. I talked a little bit about that. Comfort, the contrast of comfort and freedom. And then the discipline as a bridge. We've mentioned discipline as well, leadership investment. I'm just going to move, to failure as data. Reframing failure. Failure is viewed as valuable information, not as a personal flaw. And then encouraging learning and experimentation. So these are some of the ways you can view failure. What is the data? As a matter of fact, this whole week when people were sharing videos of the flooding in Accra, and for anybody who is listening to us who became a victim of some of these, our heart goes out to you, and we hope that together our leadership will come in front of all our personal interests and begin to solve the problems that confront us. Everything that I thought about was, do we have the statistics? Do we have the data? When we fail, it's not the time to look for which soft spot to blame. If we're even going to blame indiscipline, what is the data? How many tons of waste do we produce in Accra? How many people live in Accra? What is the square footage? Where are people? It's data. Because if you're not able to take your failure and reframe it to look at quantity and even break it down to the minute units as to how to solve it in its smallest form, then we can't even talk about solutions in the first place. So failure, yes, it has happened. But how then do we recover from it? And I think this is a very perfect story for us to look back on, reframing failure, and to look at this from the data point of view. So it talks about leadership mindset, organizational culture, all of these things are in there. And then I think finally a big piece on team. He says the word company means company, literally a group of people together. There's nobody that he's seen that has built any successful business, startup alone. It's all about the people that we work with. So Law 28 says, ask who, not how. Law 29, create a cult mentality, and mentality that people are so, and when you wake them up, they can see the company's vision and mantra as if their life depends on it. A cult mentality. And the 3 bars of building great teams: leverage the power of progress. You must be an inconsistent leader. Some of these laws would challenge your thinking if you don't read what is under them. And then learning never ends. It couldn't have ended on a better note, but learning never ends. That is the last law, or law number 33. So let me pause here a bit. I know I'm going to talk about the team culture, all of these things. I think we've mentioned them in parts in the beginning. Let me see if there's anything else I need to touch on. Okay, maybe this very last one, building social chain. Talent isn't enough. Talent alone does not guarantee high performance. Without trust, alignment, and shared values. These are very powerful statements. Then hiring shapes culture. The way we hire people, it shapes culture. It helps people to enter the organization with a lens. If they have a poor hiring experience, if your hiring job description is talking about an intern who needs 8 years of experience, I saw that this week. An intern who needs 8 years of experience, 12 different assessment or interview points before some of these things would already orient them when they're coming, that this is a company that has too many layers, has maybe trust issues, probably. So your hiring also shapes the culture. Who you hire, are you hiring just credentials over behavior? And then culture fit matters. So today, when we are hiring, we make sure that in our job description, we talk about what our values are as an organization and how we need people who align. And when you interview, your interview questions have a portion that reflect your values, so that when they answer, you can rate them as to how low or high they fit into your culture. So you don't bring in somebody who has a different POV from your company, and then you're struggling to align the fit. So that's also very important. And then it ends with leadership intentionality. Leaders must be intentional and courageous in team composition. And for those of you who are leaders on this call, you know and understand what this means. When you are hiring, you bring people on, how this impacts the way you lead. I'm going to pause here. I think I've spoken for quite a long time. You can share anything that you're picking up, anything that interests you in the comment section, or if you have any questions, you can begin to put them up. But I'm going to bring Uncle Sam and Sarah on. I know they have a lot of questions, and also I want to find out from them what their favorite parts of the book was, so we can start from there and begin to build on that. Thank you so much. I hope your appetite has been wet enough to go and get the copy of the book. Yes. Uncle Sam, you're muted. Yes.
I'm muted.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Bravo. Well done. Joy. Sarah, what do you think?
My appetite has been whetted, just like her ladyship is saying. Say, wow, you're whetting my appetite for the book. Great presentation. Yeah, excellent. Joy, well done. I was wondering myself how you're going to get through 33 laws.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, you manage it beautifully. And like you said, the purpose of this is just to introduce the book. Guys, this is a very good book, great book. And Stephen is just shaking the world with also his podcast. Start with the book and then join his podcast. And we just want to encourage learning around this table. So share your thoughts, and Joy, you ask people what they are reading, and they have started sharing. Some of them are already sharing. Ezekiel says he's learning The Leader Who Had No Title by Robin Sharma. Beautiful book. I think we've done a review of that on this platform. And Awo is also here. Awo is here, and she says, congratulations, Joy. Beautiful. And then let me see, Ezekiel. Albert Donko says he's reading Speak Up, Speak Out. Okay, you will be help others with the author so they can check. And from Tanzania, and Pastor Ayuku is joining us all the way. By now, it's 8 o'clock, so it's already 11 p.m. in Tanzania, but he's here and says small improvement create extraordinary results. Consistent daily progress compounds into remarkable achievement. Ajwa is here. I think she's now in Germany, and I'm currently reading the 5 a.m. Club. That's also another beautiful, beautiful, beautiful book. Ajwa, maybe one of these days we'll invite you to come and share with us. It's a very good book. Those who haven't, the 5 a.m. Club, join that group. And yes, we've noted the ladyship's comments already. And Fred Asari says, this is an excellent summary of the book. Now I'm going to buy and read the book. Thank you, CTL, from Fred Asari of Village of Hope. Thank you, my brother. Thank you so very much. So, guys, these are the comments coming through. And Sarah, what do you have to share? You ran through this book like, you know,
I know. I mean,
what's your perspective?
I couldn't put it down. And when I was reading, just like Joy, I categorized that. And what I did was looking at the 4 areas. There are some questions that I started putting down for myself. For example, for pillar number 1, some of the questions I put just 3 questions, not too much. Who are you becoming as a leader? I asked myself. Who am I becoming as a leader? And then when it came to stories, I said, what story do I tell about myself, about my capabilities, you know, and what belief about myself are helping or limiting me? And I shared with you and Joy that when it comes to belief, it's like a spectrum. When you go to the left-hand side, that is the limiting beliefs. And then when you go to the right-hand side, those are the, what do you call it? The empowering beliefs. So which ones am I leaning more into? And discipline. I'm very big on discipline, as you know.
We know.
What do I want most? And what am I choosing today that will move me towards the future that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
And where do I have to sacrifice long-term for the long-term results instead of the short-term? So, and last but not the least, because I don't want to take the whole floor.
No, we love your coaching questions. These are questions that you guys, as you listen, you reflect on them, some of those questions. Yes, go ahead.
Because, for me, energy is very big. Energy is very big. And Uncle Sam, you always ask me, Sarah, what is your energy like? And this is the journey I've been on for the past 5 years. So what gives me energy? Coaching gives me energy. So most of my work during the week is focused on energy because that replenishes me. And what drains me is now I can't do much training. If I do it virtually, that is okay, but face to face, I cannot do so. So therefore, how do I organize my energy in the work that I do? And how am I replenishing my physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual energy? And I have rituals. And I just share it once on the platform, cultivating habits that really help you. So Uncle Sam, I'll stop here because these are questions I put down for myself. I have more, but I want to hear from you.
Well, one of these days we'll come for the answers for those questions. Great questions that, guys, we just want you to know that as you read the book, a lot of things will be coming to your mind and it's practical. So what are you going to do about it? And for me, I mean, the first pillar is my favorite pillar. Okay. And I love it because if you look at the first law about fill the 5 buckets, it was very interesting to me. But the important thing that I picked from that is the first law, which says prioritize knowledge. because if you know, and I remember this back when I was younger, at one point my father had 2 wives, and children from both. My mother had 8, the other had 2, and my mother would tell us, encourage us to learn, because by our custom, if my father died, they were going to share the property into 2. Each woman would take 1 with his children, and he was going to take 1 with us, who were 8. And her encouragement was that, look, when you learn, nobody is going to share the knowledge in your head. And for me, that illiterate woman, underscored it, so that when I read this law about prioritizing knowledge as the first bucket you have to fill, and I said, wow, this is great. My mother could have written this and this diary of a CEO. And by the way, guys, when he talks about the CEO, and Joy introduced it to us, the CEO is not the CEO of a company. You are the CEO of your life.
Yeah.
So these principles are about how you govern your life, and it is absolutely critical. One other thing that, for me, the second law was interesting to me, because this is one of my default. Every time I'm learning something, I'm teaching it. And when I was in school, I mean, people will come to me and come and ask that they didn't understand the subject. Sometimes I didn't understand it too, but I would tell them, don't worry, I will explain it to you. Come tomorrow. And I would just go that night and crack and understand the subject. And then tomorrow they will come and I will explain it, and they will think, this guy is just great, And by the time I finish explaining to the person, that thing sticks forever. And I remember one of my teachers in sixth form, Ajete Solomon, he says, the only professional who knows the subject is the teacher. So don't hoard knowledge. Don't, just share it, and it would empower you. Now, law number 13, I mean, there are plenty of those laws. I mean, but law number 13 was also very, very interesting to me. The psychological moonshots. It says, dream big mentally first. Ambition sets the stage for execution. It's absolutely important, guys, to imagine and dream and think, because everything is created twice. What you first create in your mind, and then that comes into reality. Actually, the next book I'm going to request to review on this platform is The Power of the Subconscious Mind. If you can see, I've actually recovered mine because I've read it over and over. The Power of the Subconscious Mind. And it's like God, when you read the Bible, the Genesis, it says God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. God, the God in us is kind of our subconscious, the subconscious that governs us, that helps us to create and get things done. And this law of the psychological moonshots, it's saying dream big mentally first. Just plant the thing in your mind, and once you've planted it in your subconscious, it is going to grow. And some of the laws actually challenged me. I was like, what does he mean by this law? I mean, for example, when I read first, avoid wallpaper, I was like, what is wallpaper? I mean, avoid wallpaper. And as I read through that, it was so interesting. And it says that, look, do not blend in, stand out with distinctiveness. In other words, like somebody said, you have to, stand out, so that you can make the exactly, so that you can stand out. It's very, very interesting. And then there was one that I'm trying to look for it. That one was, I just didn't understand why he said that law. It was like, I'm just trying to get it. I'm not seeing it readily. But guys, those are some of my takes from the book. And
there's a question from Albert that he says, what identity shapes sustained discipline? what identity shapes sustained discipline. I'll just talk a little bit about what he says about, for me, this was one powerful thing when he talks about identity. I mean, you know who you are, your skills, your abilities, your talents all together. But what he was trying to say was, when you do things that are difficult, when you challenge yourself, it's like you surprise yourself that, hey,
Mhm.
I didn't know I
Mhm.
could do this. For
Yeah.
example, if your church is fasting, 2 days
Mhm.
before the church fasting, you ask yourself, I mean, I eat my breakfast by 8 o'clock, my lunch
Mhm.
by 12, and my dinner by 6. How am I going to actually do this fast? But you realize that
Mhm.
by the time you are on day 7 or day 8, you have totally forgotten about food. So sometimes
Mhm.
when you challenge yourself, you get surprised about the what comes out of you. For example,
Yeah.
there's so many things. I mean, coach training. You saw people doing coaching, and even sometimes you have that voice in the back of your head, especially going to train coach senior management, and you're like, you when did you become a coach? That's your, those are stories that are going through your head. But what do you tell yourself in
Yeah.
response? I have been trained and it's a learning opportunity. When you fail, you say you have learned. So you always go in
Mhm.
confidently, not judging your skills, not judging your abilities, but going in confidently as a whole person, and being
Mhm.
open to learn, the curiosity. What does it feel like? Because there's always a first time for everything.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if you're talking about an identity that shapes discipline, I would say that being able to challenge yourself in a way that you've never done before, and you'll be able to
Mhm.
see that you actually had it in you, you've just not done it before.
Yeah.
And those
Yeah.
there's always a first time for doing something great. So
Yeah.
that's one
Yeah.
of the
Yeah.
things
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
is to
Joy, if I may add to that, actually, when I saw this, it really reminded me yesterday I had to go to my physio. I have my coach, and this is a new program that I'm starting. And they gave me three simple exercises that I have to do. I said, oh, this is very simple. But they were simple, but very difficult, okay? And my coach let me to do so, say, do 10 times, do 10 times that, 10 times that. So she wasn't around and I was doing it. And my God, I said, my identity, even though she's not around, if I don't do it, I'm not going to get the results,
yeah.
Mhm.
right? And therefore, even when she wasn't there, I did it. I couldn't raise my hand, especially this one. But I did it. I said, when she is not around, I still have to do it because the benefit is the
Mhm.
discipline that I am doing to get the outcome that I desire. So that discipline is what kept me going, and that will shape my identity. So I hope
Great.
you get that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And great ladies, great lessons. My dimension is very simple. When you look at the law number 7, he talks
Hmm.
about protecting your story.
Yeah.
And because your story is your identity. And he says your personal narrative defines your identity. So what you say to yourself, sometimes you say, me, I'm not beautiful enough, I'm not handsome enough, and I've seen people, beautiful people, who don't believe they are beautiful
Yeah.
just because of something one small. Maybe they think their nose is too big, or maybe they think their head is too small, or maybe they think their ears are too wide, or just something simple on them that they are not happy with because it's a woman, and everybody thinks that these days you have to have a big breast, and she doesn't have a big breast. So that is the way you are thinking about yourself. Your personal narratives defines your identity, and
Yeah.
he says if you compromise on it, it erodes your confidence and your credibility. So you have to know who you are and define yourself. But along this line, ladies, let me just share. I remember the one that was challenging me a bit. It says beliefs are not chosen.
Yeah.
Because when I read that one and this one, it was a bit conflicting for me because I always thought that I choose my beliefs. But as you read through this, he says that our beliefs are shaped by evidence. And that takes me back into the Bible in Hebrews chapter 11, where he defines faith as evidence of things hoped for.
Yes.
You know, the things, it says evidence of things not seen. Okay. Now, when you look at faith, it is something that you deeply believe will happen, and you kind of literally live it. One of the practical examples I read in what's his name, The Code of the Extraordinary Mind. Sorry, I've forgotten the author's name. It's just escaping me. I'll get it. The Code of the Extraordinary Mind Valley Academy.
Yeah.
Lakiani. Lakiani's book, and he says that you have to visualize it. So, for example, if you're looking to have a Mercedes Benz, new tear rubber, and you believe you have it, just believe. When you wake up, just see yourself stepping into that car and smelling, feeling the scent of the new car and the leathers, and then the sound of it. Just put yourself in that frame, and that evidence, the things around you that you can see, reinforce your belief system. So if you believe in something, that you get a car, but then you go out there and you are just with friends who don't believe in anything, and they are saying all sort of things like, every day things are happening in Ghana. I wake up every morning and I want to believe in Ghana, but every morning your heart is broken with all the things that are happening. That evidence can affect your belief. So what that means is that you need to be careful who you surround yourself with, the environment you are in, because you can decide that you believe in something, but your environment can actually affect that belief. And so that, when I went further into this, and I said, that's actually true. So beliefs are not chosen. It's the beliefs are shaped by evidence, confidence, and social influence. To change them, expose yourself to direct experience. Okay, so it is very, very, very important, guys. I think
Sam,
we have to thank Joy. Yes.
Yeah, Ezekiel also was asking a question about the belief. Yeah, and actually, you have answered the question. My question, when I went through the book, was the law which said you can't choose what you believe. What are your thoughts? And you have answered that. But also our experiences and our upbringing really shapes our beliefs.
Yes.
And as you're talking about getting this Benz or whatever, it's the emotions that we attach the experiences that will help us change the beliefs. So Ezekiel, I hope we've been able to answer your questions. Let us know. Okay.
Okay, good. Now, Dennis from Thessalonians is currently reading Joseph Murphy, The Power of the Subconscious Mind. Okay, great. Dennis, read with me. I've read it a few times, and you will join us when we do the review. It's a very, very, very powerful book.
At CTL, we're going to note all that so that when we are going to review those books,
we invite you.
We invite you. Okay, so
exactly.
These down for us. Excellent.
Good. Wonderful. All right, guys. Any more questions? Any more thoughts? Joy and Sarah?
Yeah, I don't see any more questions or comments. So, Joy, I don't know whether
I would just maybe close with the reflection slide. We can all just stay on while I just go through them. So this is for self-reflection. The first one is examine who you are becoming through conscious examination and reflection. Who am I becoming? Who am I becoming? And then for guiding beliefs and principles, the intentional storytelling and principled decision making shape action and guide leadership choices. What is your story? I think Sarah has just helped to make this conclusion very easy. And one of the things I've learned from Live to Lead, when all the speakers come on, they are not sharing extraordinary, they are sharing their story. So one of the things that would encourage you to do as part of our conclusion is that if you have a life story, how you started from, how you started to build your organization, your passion project, how you have evolved, package the story in a way that when you are invited to share it, you can share it with the lessons, with everything that can inspire your audience. So everyone has a story, and Stephen Bartlett is saying that intentional storytelling is what can actually drive taking action. And then two last things: the impact on your team. Trust-based leaderships affect team dynamics and create environments for sustained performance. How are you shaping your team? How are we shaping our teams? How are we creating environments for sustained performance? You can just note one thing. What is that one thing that I'm going to do to improve or create an environment for my team that can sustain performance? You may not be doing well on everything, but if you're doing well on one thing, what is that one thing that as a leader you can do to improve that environment, to keep that going? And then the last one, leadership as a practice. Leadership is a daily practice. Influencing is a daily practice, as we always say here. Leading is influencing. It's not just a role or a title. So where are you at in your leadership journey? What can you do on a daily basis to continue to influence the spaces that you are in? And we hope that this book the review was useful, the discussions was useful to you. And thank you all so much for your attention. I think, Uncle Sam, we can call it an evening. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Joy. Thank you. Those were great learning. But please always remember the last law number 33. Continuous learning. Learning never ends.
Yeah.
Continuous growth is essential. Stagnation kills relevance. Please don't be caught by the destination disease. That says me, my part is and one of my friends, me, my part is you know. So
No, I'm too old to learn.
I'm too old to learn. You know, you're never too old to learn. You know.
Yeah.
Like they will say, oh no, you can't teach old dogs new tricks.
New tricks.
Guys, those are some of the statements that we believe, and they just keep us stagnated. Stagnation kills. It's a destination disease. It will kill you. So continuous learning. Thank you so much,
I
John.
think on that note, we can also share that, I mean, the growth journey is also starting. We shared the links and the material out there. So if you're looking for an opportunity to grow yourself, yes. I think Akofa has shared that in the link here.
Exactly. And by the way, Joy has graciously supported by Sarah, have created the online version, which we are going to launch out very soon, so that you can also on your own go and study the growth, go through the growth journey virtually by yourself. But you can join the group that, you know, the 10 to 15 people that we sit around, we read the book, we learn together. Please make a date and register for the growth journey, which we are starting very, very soon. And on that note, once again, Joy, thank you so much for great work we've done on this book. And Sarah, thanks for joining us always. Akofa, thank you. Thank you so very much. You ladies are doing wonderful work. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, go get the book. Stephen Bartlett.
Go get the book. Go get
the book. This is it. Go get it. Okay?
Listen, look at the different audiences. If you can't read, get the audio version. And listen, that's all. Okay?
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Good night,
Have a
everyone.
wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Good night.
And by the way, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, do that now.